The stabilizing presence of the United States is crucial to regional peace.
Step up partnership with the U.S. to counter China. That's a security solution Philippine President Marcos has proposed for Asia-Pacific countries. Actually, when the news came out that Marcos was invited to give the keynote address for this year's Shangri-La Dialogue, I had a hunch that the burgeoning territorial disputes over Ring-Ai-Jiao or the second Thomas Shoal in the South China Sea would once again become the hot topic at the conference.
We cannot afford any other future for the South China Sea other than the one envisioned by ASEAN, that of a sea of peace, stability, and prosperity. Unfortunately, this vision remains for now a distant reality.
Dispatching vessels to the illegally grounded warship, deploying Coast Guard ships and official vessels to intrude into waters off China's Huangyan Island and Ring-Ai-Jiao, inviting reporters from Western media groups on board and hiring fishermen to cause trouble in specific waters. Obviously, the Philippines has doubled down on its efforts to provoke conflict in the South China Sea by hook or by crook. After all the fuss, the Philippines plays the victim and places the blame on China. So, what is the truth? The truth is that China and the Philippines have made deals over access to the South China Sea. Former Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte made the gentleman's agreement with China as a temporary special arrangement to manage the situation at Ring-Ai-Jiao. China has been committed to reaching an understanding and agreeing on a new model for management of Ring-Ai-Jiao with the Philippines. However, the current Philippine administration reneged on its promise and disrupted all the existing agreements. The Philippines is fully aware that its infringement and provocation violates the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. This, therefore, begs the question, who is supporting these dangerous maneuvers of the Philippines?
Across Southeast Asia, we're using new technology and training to uphold freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. And that includes working closely with our allies in the Philippines to field maritime defensive capabilities and expanding maritime domain awareness across the region.
The U.S. Secretary of Defense underscored the U.S. commitment to the Philippines in his remarks. The Philippines also is under the impression it can get what it wants by forging a security alliance with the U.S. against China. But hold on, be it the Mutual Defense Treaty between the U.S. and the Philippines, Japan-Philippines Reciprocal Access Agreement, or the Quadrilateral Group informally dubbed Squad, they only apply to situations where Philippine territory is violated, which is not the case here. In fact, it's the Philippines that is infringing upon China's sovereign territory. And to a certain extent, it is precisely because of U.S. intervention that the Philippines is behaving more and more like a gambler on South China Sea issues. Therefore, as analysts pointed out, in a sense, the real deciding factor in this game would come from direct dialogue between China and the United States. This year's Shangri-La Dialogue witnesses the first face-to-face talks between defense chiefs of China and the United States in the past 2 years. The media is laser-focused on reading between the lines. As I'm standing here, I can feel the weighted expectations for the two major players to come together and effectively avoid further regional disputes. China says this meeting is a positive, pragmatic, and constructive strategic communication. Meanwhile, China also emphasizes that it will not tolerate or condone any attempt to intensify provocative actions.
我们坚持在遵守承诺的基础上，通过平等协商解决分歧，但对一味加剧挑衅的行为绝不姑息。
We've also secured a series of historic agreements with our allies and partners to transform our force posture throughout the Indo-Pacific. We are on the verge of even more powerful changes to our posture and presence in the Indo-Pacific.
China is a staunch advocate of regional peace and stability.
亚太地区的发展成就和安定局面来之不易，我们不允许 霸权主义、强权政治损害亚太，不允许把地缘冲突、冷战、热战引入亚太。
From signing the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea in 2002, a proposal of a dual-track approach that addresses South China Sea disputes, to the establishment of an ASEAN-China comprehensive strategic partnership, the past decades have witnessed the common commitment by ASEAN and China to resolve relevant disputes through consultation and negotiation.
We all agree there should be no escalation of the tensions in the South China Sea. China's own prosperity depends on peace in Asia and in the world. That's how China prospers, and ASEAN countries prosper.
However, the U.S., an outsider in South China Sea affairs, is instigating confrontations between China and clement ASEAN states. Through holding joint military drills, providing arms sales and military assistance, as well as proposing the IPEF and its so-called Indo-Pacific strategy, the U.S. intends to expand its partnership in the region. ASEAN countries want peace, stability, and development, not division, conflict, and chaos. But the U.S. has turned a blind eye to the demands and is trying to contain and encircle China at the cost of the solidarity of ASEAN. Therefore, if the Philippines continues to ride roughshod over other Asian countries, including China, and sides with the U.S., then it's a no-brainer that such actions will put regional security into danger. A heavily armed Philippines is the last thing countries in Asia want. Let's cross our fingers and hope that the Marcos administration's choice will bring fortune for its people and not risks of war and more U.S. military bases within its territories.